You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Congratulations. We are waiting for the holy month Ramadan. So wishing you great times full of healthy spirits, healthy bodies, healthy minds. We have to prepare ourselves because this month is not like any time. It's a very specific, very special occasion in the year that comes every year, and we have to use it because one of the famous sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that the one who reaches Ramadan and never have the forgiveness of God or the acceptance of God is for sure someone who is miserable because he didn't use this occasion which is full of offers from God. The air itself, the atmosphere is full of angels and full of everything that's good for the spirits and for the human being. Actually, the main goal of this very specific or very special episode in Family Issues is to prepare ourselves to the holy month. It's just a few days later and you are going to find yourself in the wheel of Ramadan. If you didn't prepare yourself, it deserves to prepare yourself. Simply sit with yourself, open any agenda or any copybook and try to write with your pen some steps, 30 steps in order to reach. Imagine yourself as if you are building a building and every day you are putting a new brick in a building and in order to be something good at the end of this month. As you know, this program is not a religious program. It's just the psychological part that we are insisting on. We are insisting on building the psychology, building the self-concept of every member of the family. So, put in your mind, let us call them 3 dimensions. The first dimension is the physical or the materialistic part of the story, and that is the issue of eating and health and all the habits and traditions in Ramadan and the idea of fasting. We are going to speak about this. Another part, very important, not less important, maybe it's more important than this, which is the skills in Ramadan. It's, of course, fasting is some sort of a skill, but there are so many other skills that are very important. For example, how to prevent yourself from practicing your hobby that you used to do every day. For example, I used to go and enter or see the net or the Facebook, and I want to change my habit in this month. I want to be not indulged in the usual life of people. I want to be more higher than this. I want to live in the atmosphere of God and heaven and forgiveness and the Quran and so on. So this condition needs a skill. And it's completely different from another point that we have to discuss also, which is the affections or the emotions of the person. I want you to, at the end of Ramadan, to feel that, or to let your children feel that they loved Ramadan. They loved the whole occasion, all the habits, the idea of charity, payment of charity, the idea of getting near to the poor people, the idea of patience, how to resist, how to prove you're well, how to prove that you are strong, how to fulfill what you want. All these things has to be put in our minds. And eventually, another 4th dimension if we consider this as a cube, which is the spiritual part, you are going to see maybe in the few next episodes in Ramadan that we are going to speak about imagery, meditation, imagining that you are with God flying in the sky, or mixing with the components of the nature that God have created to us. Also, this dimension has to be tackled in this episode. First, let me give you our telephones in order to call us if you want, or if you're having any suggestion. That these are 00202 38555 248 or 249. Back again to our main issue. We are having a specific or a very special also report about how people used to make charities in Ramadan. This is a skill also. It's not a matter of just giving money. If you give someone or you present anything to anyone, you have to present it in a very special way in order to let God accept this from you. So many, as I say, things that has to be taught to our children. But let me start with the informative type, or what we call the cognitive part of Ramadan. For example, I'm planning in my mind to have, for example, 30 stories about Islamic celebrities or Islamic personalities that we know in Ramadan. Some of them are Sahaba, some of them are Mujahideen or fighters who were so solid and they helped Islam and they insisted on proving their ideas or proving what they believe in. This itself is very important. So, for example, if you plan from now on, if your children can understand and make, for example, every day some sort of a ceremony before prayers or after prayers, like a cycle, the children sit around you, not just for reciting Quran, but for telling a story and summing up from this story one of the values or two values every day. This is a good dose for Ramadan. So, for example, if you want to collect all these together, it's very good. For example, 30 celebrities, 30 stories of prophets, 30 values. Every day you insist on a value. Whatever you want to do, but please use this occasion, very special occasion, and try to donate with your time to your children. And if you want to bring other children or other members from your neighbors or from your relatives around you, this will be much more nice and much more effective, friendly, and it helps the community to be strengthened more and more. And in order to cut this very boring rhythm that is going on nowadays in our countries and our world, in contrast to the previous times when people were the grand families, you find 3 or 4 generations in the same family. Nowadays, it's only nuclear families, a father and a mother and 1 or 2 kids, that's all. And they're closing the doors. Why not? Why not? We use Ramadan as a chance or a choice point to collect the people and recanalize the channels between us and make it a regular habit from now on, for all the year long. So Ramadan is a very specific occasion. In psychology, I'm not speaking about religion only, but I'm speaking about the psychological habits that you want to change in your life and your children. Let us have now a break and come to discuss this in detail.
Never alone. You are never alone.
Welcome to Ramadan in Focus. I'm Yusuf Estes. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, you can appreciate the subject of Ramadan. As we say in Texas, get the hay down where goats can eat it, you know. Totally and completely all mercy, if there is mercy, must be coming from Ar-Rahman.
Don't let another Ramadan pass you by without taking time to reflect on the true meaning of this blessed month.
How much? 99 times all of the mercy that's ever been shown in this universe is going to be shown to the believers on that day. And certainly we will need it. Isn't that the truth? Look, this is from the mercy, the rahmah of Allah. So it's always a responsibility of Muslims to make sure the right message gets out. But it's also our responsibility to listen to those in authority over us.
Begin to put Ramadan in focus with Texas-born Sheikh Yusuf Estes on our new program, Ramadan in Focus. The entire staff at Hoda would like to wish you a wonderful and blessed Ramadan.
All the prophets are brothers, and they represent the same message. What was the call of the prophet? What was his invitation? He was inviting to what? So the prophet said, "Oh Allah, grant your mercy on the one who is tolerant if he sails, on one who is tolerant if he buys, and one who is tolerant when he seeks his right."
In this program, Sheikh Abdul Rahman Damashkiya presents Reminders, a bouquet of various reminders and admonitions that we need to strengthen our faith, taste its sweetness, perfect our acts of worship, and refine our morals.
Try to discipline them in the best way. Those daughters will be his shield. That means those will be the reason, the cause of his protection from hellfire. Because of what? Taking care of them. What you have in this life, no matter what you have, is less. And it is temporary.
Hoda TV wishes you and your family a spiritual and rewarding Ramadan.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Welcome back again. We are speaking about Ramadan, this very important occasion in the Muslims' lives and maybe in the whole universe's life, because it's time when angels come down from the heaven to the ground, and therefore we have, all of us as a family, every member of the family, every father, everyone is responsible to create a very special occasion or very special atmosphere in order to let the points of faith and these very high, pure, natural aspects of a human being enter inside our children's life, especially when we know that nowadays, unfortunately, with this high-tech life, every child is interested in the very materialistic things in life, like games like PlayStations and Xboxes and something like this, and they are all the time looking at the net, going to the Facebook, and they are away from these human-to-human relations and the family relations and so on. So we want to use these 30 days specifically to get the best of what we can do away from this high-tech life. As I said, number one, the cognitive part. We have to tell stories all the time. Okay, let it be like one tablet per day, for example, one story per day. I usually used to say a story a day to your child keeps the behavioral doctor away, because all the time we are giving the good values, the advices, our opinions through the mold of the story in a hidden way, not in a very frank, open or overt way. So this is very important. Also, in order to transfer the message or to disseminate your ideas and to let your child or your family members be more in depth in relation to nature and these pure things in life, you can have every day in Ramadan a visit to a natural place. I know it's very hot nowadays in the Middle East at least, but you can plan, for example, to go to certain gardens nearby you and to let your child sleep on the grass. I did this myself last week in the north coast in Egypt, and let the child every day like as if it was some sort of the yoga or the imitation or meditation things. But you know, this is in Islam itself. We are invited in the verses, the Quranic verses, to all the time think and speculate and see this whole universe. So I used to put my children on their backs on the ground, on the earth, on the grass, and I used to sleep with them by myself and let them look at the sky, look at the stars, look at the crescent or the moon, look at that high tree, and hear the voice. Train your children to mix and to sense and to feel the nature, the voice of nature, the voice of the winds or the air, the voice of the trees when they are moving here and there by the effect of air, and so on. To hear the waves of the sea, and to hear and to see and to smell and to use every sense in their bodies to cooperate or to mix with nature. This is a very important daily exercise that should be taught by parents, and it's very religious part in the same time, and it's very important for the psychology of children, because not all the time they are, as I say, mixed with mobiles, cellular telephones, devices, apparatuses. All the time I am afraid that our children and all the children in the world are getting to a very difficult phase in the few next years because of these dangerous waves on their health, on their brains, and or their central nervous systems. Also, they have to learn by heart some of the Quranic verses or some of the hadiths. In order not to forget the visits, I'm saying, to the zoo, to the gardens, to the sea, to the Nile, to rivers, to the deserts, wherever you are. You can train your child to visit, you can take him, you can make a program of 30 visits to natural. This is one of my advices. I advise you in order to create at the end something different in your child. Not all the time in these closed rooms or walls and this very narrow life we are living in all the year long. You can have a change in this month by this way. Of course, it's much more better also to mix this with speaking about stories in Quran or reciting some verses in Quran when you are there. If they are matching with the situation, this is very nice and very effective. Very effective, because during the usual days of the year you cannot do this easily like this time. Even children do not accept this, and teenagers except in Ramadan. In Ramadan, most of them are prepared psychologically to accept some of more religious ideas and more religious advices than any other month in life. Let me tell you something. If one of your children or your family are used to hear songs, okay, let us make a change. You used to hear all types of songs, all types of music. Okay, why not, as a step in your way to get nearer to God, to make these, to specify this month to hear songs that are related to prophets. Some of religious songs are speaking about Islam and about life and how the prophets did so and so. Some songs are related to nature. I know some singers who are speaking about nature, about the air of the certain country that's beautiful, the sun. Okay, please try to have some skeleton, some specific skeleton for your month. Also, I want to specify the ideas in the stories about not any story. Not, for example, we are not speaking about Cinderella and we are speaking about prophets. We are speaking about fighter people. We are speaking about animals in Islam, animals and their stories in Islam. Well, let me tell you more and more, other than the cognitive part in Ramadan, but after we see the next report, which is speaking about charity and how to train your children. This is the second dimension in Ramadan that I want you to plan for, which is not the cognitive part and the information part, it's the skills in Ramadan. So now one of the skills is to give charity to people. How to give it in a very skillful way. It's not, as I said, a matter of giving money or giving things to people and that's all. No. you have to give it in a good way, and you have to prepare it in a nice way, like as if you are preparing a present or a gift for someone you love, and in a very sensitive way, because it's, just one point, and it's going to turn into an insult, because people's dignities are very high in themselves, so they want to have things in a good way that makes them not embarrassed and not insulted. Let us now see the report about charity in Ramadan and come back.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Ramadan is the season for acts of worship, goodness, philanthropy, reading the Quran, and other acts of worship. One of the most encouraged acts of worship to be done in Ramadan is giving charity, supporting the poor and the orphans, and showing solidarity to others. There are many Quranic verses and ahadith that call for spending in general, and in the month of Ramadan in particular. Allah the Almighty says, "And they give food in spite of their love for it, or for the love of Him, to the masakin, the poor people, the orphans, and the captives. We feed you seeking Allah's countenance only. We wish for no reward, nor thanks from you. Indeed, we fear from our Lord a day, austere and distressful. So Allah will protect them from the evil of that day, and give them radiance and happiness." Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "The person who looks after a widow or a needy person is like the one who struggles in the cause of Allah, or the person who prays all night long and fasts all day long." Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, reported, "The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was the most generous of all people, and he used to reach the peak of generosity in the month of Ramadan, when Gabriel met him. Gabriel used to meet him every night of Ramadan to teach him the Quran. Allah's Messenger was the most generous person, even more generous than the strong, uncontrollable wind. So we should utilize this blessed month to increase our good deeds. We should start by those people who are close relatives, neighbors, friends. If you do not know how to give or pay this charity to the poor, or you do not know any poor person, you can look for any charitable or philanthropic society that can fairly distribute your charity to the needy and the poor.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Welcome back. As you have seen in the report, the bags prepared for the poor people, for the masakin, insisting on focusing on the psychological part, how to present these things. Maybe this was not very clear in the report, but why not train yourself to smile to people in a smile that lets them feel that you love them. You are not just giving them because they are poor. You are a brother of them. You are a sister. This is one of the skills in the family, in the body language. Sorry, okay. Some people cannot do it. Believe me, some people cannot have the skill of smiling to you without making it obvious that he wants something from you, or he has to do this in order to do a mission or something. No, but some people have the talent and are gifted to make things very natural, very easy, and the child or the person in need takes this present or takes this bag or takes this whatever he wants from you without saying anything. Of course, this is one of the good things that not all people are given, but hopefully train yourself during the month and train your children to listen the degree of grandiosity or the degree of arrogance that unfortunately some people are having. Because arrogant children, we every now and then meet children or people, you look at their faces or their habits or the way they deal with things, you find them, as they say, having wooden faces. They do not smile easily, or you find them, they do not mean to be like this, but they cannot do except this. So this opens, opens the way to the second dimension in the very important part in Ramadan, the task that parents have to have, which is the domain of skills. The domain of skills. Like you have seen before the report, we've been speaking about the cognitive part, or how to increase the information. I want at the end of Ramadan to have 30 bricks. These bricks are stories, 30 stories about celebrities, about animals in Islam, in Quran, about anything. These informations or bits of information at the end are going to make a big deal of a good cultured child or person about Islam and how to deal. But now the most important part now we are speaking about is the skills of a person. What do we mean by skills? We mean, as I've said, when you give a charity, it's not a matter of giving material to someone. It's a mixture of the material and the spirit that you are introducing things with. This is a skill. I don't know if you understand me or not, but I want to train my children to make it easily, without convulsions, Also from the very important skills that I want you to train your children about is in addition to the body language and to serving people with a smile, also to insist on what I call the imagery or the meditation skill. And every day it's like an exercise in the 30 days of the month. Okay? So we have every day to collect our children and go, as I've said, to somewhere, not now to speak about these areas or these places and to focus on the information, but to let their minds work and to let them interact with nature. This is also another important skill. The dose of the net, the dose of technology, the dose of everything that is not related to spirit should be decreased. And the dose of the spiritual activities in the day and the thinking in nature and thinking in the way we deal with each other, this is the important thing in Ramadan. Also, I want to insist on the time management, because some people lose time management and the timetables are in a very messy way in Ramadan. All the time he is sleeping, and if he's not sleeping, he is looking at the TV series, for example, about police stories and about stories not related. No, I want you in Ramadan to train yourselves as, when you go from, for example, if you went to Saudi Arabia and you are going to a pilgrimage or something, during the way from, for example, Medina to Mecca, you are just thinking in God. You are just speaking about Quranic verses. You are reciting Quran. It's a very special condition that people live. I want you in Ramadan to make the same thing, to let just the children feel that you are not allowed. It's not a direct order, but let them feel that they are not allowed to speak about everything easily. We have to train ourselves to speak in issues that are not very out of the topic. The topic is God. The topic is what God created. The topic is the poor people. The topic is how to help people and give charity. The topic is the animal that I've read about in Quran. For example, the fox or the wolf or the elephant. All these animals which were mentioned in the stories. You know what I mean? Also, a very important skill is to train your children to discuss with you every day an issue, to train them to be criticizers. For example, every day you can discuss a fault or an error or something wrong that you have done before. You can make it like a game. I'll tell you now, you are telling your children in the circle, I'll tell you now what I have done during the day when I was at work, and you have the good boy of you, or the one who is the winner, is the one who is going to tell me what's wrong in what I have done today. And it's like, like a contest. The next day, you, for example, speak about something political, but I don't want you to go into politics and to things not religious. But the point is to let people, to let children understand that those people who are mixed in policy, in politics, and in very, life things not away from God and away from a religious aspect, this is not the right thing. You have to say that these people in this month are a bit distracted from the straight path. They have to work in politics, to speak about so and so, but not to indulge or to include themselves to the degree that this doesn't mean that you don't or you don't do your work in a good way. No, you have to, of course, to tell children to do their works and homeworks in a very high quality. But the point is not the quality. The point is, in this month, we have to tell our children to be in a special, this is a very special month. It's a very sensitive month. So I hope the meaning reaches your minds when I'm speaking about, by the way, you have to make what's called mind map. You have to make a mind map for the whole month. I want to, for example, what's related to worship is so and so and so, prayers, fasting, zakah, and so on. What are your plans in every part of this? The other part is the activities, as I've said, with children, stories, visits, sitting together to discuss every day an issue. And this discussion is not more than 5 or 10 minutes. It's not the half of the day. 5 minutes after, for example, Asr prayers or so, we are sitting in a family way. I know all of us are busy, and we are in Ramadan. We should have to read the whole Quran. You see, it's better, of course, to finish the whole Quran during Ramadan. So I want to say that every day is crowded with so many tasks and so many activities. But the special thing is that it's not just reciting Quran as every father and every family member is contesting to do, to finish before the other. No, this is not the meaning. I want you to get out of Ramadan and your spirit is different. You are, and also, one of the very important skills that you have to learn is to forgive those who made bad things with you, or if you are in a quarrel with someone, or you are not in good terms with someone. Why not you plan to count them if they reach the 30 person, and I don't think that they might be more than this. Unfortunately, this is life. So why not we try to plan from now, before Ramadan, that every day I am going to call someone who I should recanalize the relation again with him. All these things can be included in the plan of Ramadan, in preparation of Ramadan. Also, I think, why not we try to imitate or to make one of the habits of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, every day in Ramadan. For example, Prophet Muhammad used to make fun with people in a certain way. He has his own way of fun. He has his own way of payments. He has his own way of speaking. Why not try to train ourselves in the 30 next days in Ramadan to imitate or make things similar to what Prophet Muhammad has been? At the end of Ramadan, we are going to have 30 of the things that Prophet Muhammad exactly was doing, the way he wears clothes, the way he speaks, because if you reach, this is the best person in life, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So if you try to imitate these 30 things, the ways he used to, as I say, to speak to people. Prophet Muhammad, for example, was all the time smiling. He wasn't frowning except if someone did something wrong or against the religion. In this case, he was angry. We have to know this. So most of the time, some people met me today and said, well, I used to be, I don't know why nowadays I'm nervous. All the time I'm nervous. And I shouted that and hit that and spanked my children. Okay. Let us this month train ourselves to get ourselves down and to cool. It's the month of coolness. It's the month of coolness. Except if anyone made something against or tried to make something that affects the worship of people or their peace. Well, these are some of the ideas, and I can also speak about the revolution that's going nowadays in the countries of the Middle East. and link this, but not all the time speaking about, as I've said, political things. I'm just making the link with what's going nowadays from events in the life around us in order to make the stories related to our lives. Okay, let us have a break and go to the last part of the skills in Ramadan.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
The aim of the show is to really focus and gain a grasp of those things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, and those things which will gain for us the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and will make us amongst those who are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is there any evidence from the Quran that shows that those who repent are beloved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happier, is more happier with the repentance of his slave than you if you came across your camel after you lost it in a white oven.
Servants of Allah are those servants who have drawn closer to Allah. Do you know who they are and what qualities they possess? Wouldn't you like to be one of them?
The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable us to reach into a status wherewith or in which we will taste the beauty of Iman.
We would like to be amongst those who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves.
Indeed, you will see your Lord as you see this moon, without having any harm in seeing them. Way how we fast. We might fast, we might abstain from food and drink. At the same time, we violate Allah's boundaries. And then how can we get taqwa?
Learn how by tuning into your show Servants of Allah with Sheikh Saeed Al-Ghadi, airing throughout this Ramadan. May Allah rain His abundant blessings on us during this month of mercy and charity. Sheikh Haytham Al-Haddad sheds light on the second best generation of this community, the successors to the companions. These stories serve as guidelines for us covering all spheres of life, political.
Now let us understand how Islam deals with prisoners of war. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz told his son a very important policy that has been used now by so many jurists to address some contemporary issues.
Worship.
He used to pray 1,000 rak'ah. 1,000 rak'ah a day. Maybe we wouldn't understand how they managed to pray 1,000 rak'ah. There is an element of barakah that Allah Jalla wa Ala gives to certain people.
Social.
Who is going to allow me to marry their daughters? I am a poor person. I don't have money. I only have 2 dirhams. Who would accept me to marry their daughters while I'm in that devastated situation? Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib said, I do.
As well as economic and other aspects of our daily life.
Then he gave his instructions that when they send something, they should use either a piece of paper or a piece of skin in proportional to what they have written. Do you want to call this as caring about the environment? Do you want to take to consider this as a matter of worrying about the wealth of Muslims?
Don't miss out on Second Best, airing on Huda TV. May Allah bless you and your family.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Welcome back to our series about, or this episode about Ramadan and how we have to prepare ourselves to this holy month. In the first part, we spoke about the cognitive part and how you have to build the building of information from the very beginning to the end of Ramadan, 30 bricks every day. For example, speaking about one of the personalities, one of the celebrities in Ramadan, Sahaba or prophets or so on. You can also add every day speaking about a value, for example, about humbleness, about charity, about cooperation, about resistance and patience in Islam. This, by the way, makes some sort of entertainment for those who are fasting. And remind you with a very important thing for children is that you can train them to fast part of the day at the beginning. It's not important, especially if they are not reaching the puberty. And even those who pass the puberty, I'm speaking from a medical and psychological aspect. You can let them gradually, without any nervousness, train themselves. Some children are different from others. Some of them, in spite of being very young, they can fast easily from the very beginning and the whole day. But this is not the usual, to my mind. So the point is, do not want parents to let children have bad experience in worship. Some people, when they take their children to mosques, they may, for example, if the child is not praying in a good way, he might shout at him. He might spank him in the mosque. This, after times, makes the child not in a good term with the mosque. I want him to love the mosque. I want him to love worship. So please, all the time try to pair this with a good feeling. Also in Ramadan, if you used also the traditions in every country of Ramadan, for example, the lantern and what they call it, the fanus, and those things that used to tell people that we are in the holy month, are so much good. My mother-in-law says the house is happy. The house is getting happy in Ramadan. This, she wants to say that try to put on the walls, or let the one who enters your house feel that you are in Ramadan. Change your way of clothing, for example, to put the carpet to pray, have the sabha or the things that help you to feel that we are Ramadan, and let the children look at it as if there is a costume for Ramadan. There are habits specific for Ramadan. There are traditions for Ramadan. Let them be happy themselves by the house in this way in Ramadan. Invite people, serve food, cook special foods that are not served in other. I want children, play with them, sit with them, tell them stories, mix with them, smile to them more, be present with them more than usual before used to be with them. Try, as I've said, to sacrifice and donate some of the money or the work times or work hours. This is the holy month, and believe me, God is going to give you things better than money, or is going to give you more money few times later. So this is called the barakah in Ramadan. And this concept, the concept of that there is something good in your life, is very important to train or to educate or raise your children on day by day in Ramadan. In addition, the spiritual aspect, the third dimension in Ramadan that we want our children to focus on, because this is, as I've said, the chance, this is the last chance. The 30 days of Ramadan are going to be the last chance this year, for example, except if there are other religious occasions, but this is usually the biggest occasion in the year, Ramadan. It's the chance to let them forgive, and you yourself to forgive God, to say that you hope, to supplicate to God to forgive you and give you good things. All the time you are supplicating, you are asking God to change. This is the time when God accepts, and angels are very nearby you to transmit these messages. As we are speaking about the spiritual or the effective part in the training plan for our family and children in Ramadan, there is what's called the self-retreatment. Some people, or what's called in religion al-i'tikaf, they go in the mosques, and this is from the Sunnah. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, especially at least at the last 10 days in Ramadan, he used to isolate himself in the mosque and be completely with God, praying, supplicating in the mosque, except for very important things. I can go out of the mosque and come back to continue this very special condition of link and connection with God. This is very healthy, as in the case of fasting from food, which is a very healthy habit, and eating very healthy, good healthy foods in Ramadan, not as usually done in Ramadan. They serve at al-iftar, or at the first meal that is at the end of the fasting. They serve tremendous amounts of foods full of fats. This is wrong, of course. This is not what Ramadan recommended. No, it's a chance that people make their stomachs get relaxed, and they eat minimal amounts in order to let them go on to pray all the night at night. Okay, I believe, I confess that it's not an easy task. All what I'm saying is not an easy task at all for parents to do or for anyone to do, but it's the contest in Ramadan. These 30 days, we are going at the last day in Ramadan, we are going to compare and to evaluate what everyone have done. We are going to find that the winner is the one who trained his children at the end to be at least very patient. Not just a matter of food, patient not to say bad words, patient not to frustrate their sibs or brothers or sisters. And you are going to reward them for this. In order to be, you are the winner in Ramadan. We are going to make a contest, for example, and at the end we are going to say there is a big present for the child who is going at the end of Ramadan to get the highest marks, or what's called the token economy. You are going to collect the highest collection of prizes or marks, and you are going to, for example, to have for example, an amount of money or some big rewards or something like this. One of the most important things to my mind from the spiritual aspect is at least once to let the children, the bigger ones, I mean at the age, for example, bigger than 7 years or so, to visit the tombs or to go and to the area where we bury our dead people, the Muslims, to think, to have, to the first times in their lives, to think about the other life, the life after death, or that people, when they die, they are buried, and we have to supplicate for them, and if they are good people, they are going to have this transitional period is going to be very happy one, very relaxing one, and the tombs are going to be full of light and full of good things. But if the one is not good, not a good person, unfortunately, God is not going to be accepting him, or maybe there is going to be some sort of a torture. But we are not speaking about the bad things, especially in the first years of life. We are insisting and concentrating and focusing on the good things. So it's worth a trial. If you want to have one day in the 30 days to take your children and go to the cemetery and visit this place and recite some Quranic verses and think, this is some sort of an imagery also, some sort of meditation, to think about life, and does it cost all this effort or not. Of course, we are insisting on working concepts and exerting efforts. We are not against this, but to a degree that, for example, when the time for meeting God, this is the adhan, the prayer, we have to close our works and go to God. Why not we train our children to make their timetables related to prayers times, not related, for example, to the program in the TV or so. At the end, I think there are so many plans. It's just, these are just suggestions. Not everyone can make his own plan in Ramadan and preparation. But anyway, I want to say congratulations with the happy Ramadan in the few next days. It's the occasion or the season where every one of us is preparing himself to make good things on the spiritual aspect and on the mental and the treatment aspect. So my great wishes to you in Ramadan. Congratulations. Thank you very much, and see you in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone.